and welcome back to another edition of Metcalf's Movie Journal. This is the show where I do quick reviews for the movies that I watch, give them a score out of 10, and then add them to my list. So let's see what movie we're reviewing today. On March 19th, I watched Fanboys, which came out in 2009. And this is a relatively unheard of and clearly low-budget comedy, starring a couple of guys I almost sort of recognize, alongside Jay Baruchel and an early appearance by Kristen Bell. This was just after Forgetting Sarah Marshall released, so her career was just taking off, but she still seems a bit overqualified given her supporting cast. The story here is all about a group of friends obsessed with Star Wars who head out to Skywalker Ranch in hopes of stealing and watching a copy of The Phantom Menace before its release date. The reason for their literal ticking clock here is that one of their friends has terminal cancer. So this easily could have slipped into some more emotional, cheesy territory, but thankfully it manages to stay a fairly pure comedy throughout. In the beginning, the jokes didn't seem to be landing, and if I had scored it at the midway point, it would have done a lot worse than it ended up being. And this is mostly due to the cameos that start happening at about the midway point. This movie clearly had the approval of George Lucas and company, so maybe the actors were willing to work for cheap, or maybe those appearances are why there weren't bigger names in the leading roles. But it really feels more like the former, since everything about this movie just screams low budget. Either way though, the cameos did so much to help make this into something bigger, and they would have made this into something actually worth a theatrical release, and not the straight-to-DVD thing it was feeling like through the first half. A very real and genuine love for Star Wars can be felt throughout this film, and even though I'm more of a Trekkie myself, and this movie lightheartedly jabs at Star Trek fans with a pretty funny appearance by Seth Rogen, I can still easily relate to and appreciate these characters who maybe get a little too invested and obsessed with their love for a movie franchise. I think I even remember reading a story about Marvel Studios letting some terminally ill patient see Endgame before it was officially released. So at its core, this is an extremely believable story, but the hijinks and jokes surrounding their journey get a little too silly for me at times, and it might just be that low-budget feeling or the lack of big-name actors, but it always feels a little like less than a full movie. I'm a fan of Jay Baruchel for sure, but he probably shouldn't be the most talented actor on screen. And Kristen Bell does a lot to help the overall group, but it's still not enough to make me excited for a rewatch anytime soon. I think a lot of the movies near the bottom of my list would fall into one of two categories: the low-budget, poorly written, basically bad movies all around that never really had a chance of being good, and the big-budget movies that either tried too hard to be something spectacular or just focused on a subject matter I was never going to find interesting in the first place. Fanboys definitely falls into the first category more than the second, and in a way, it's able to overachieve for what it is, because it's clearly accomplished what it set out to do, in being an inoffensive, pleasant comedy with a nice pure heart at its center. And if you're a fan of Star Wars, this one will be sure to hit that much closer to home. But Star Trek is still better. I ended up giving it a 5 out of 10, and it landed at number 924 on my list, putting it right here, in between Scary Movie and Grandma's Boy. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching another edition of Metcalf's Movie Journal. Be sure to click like and subscribe for new videos every week. And if you have a movie that you really want me to watch, be sure to drop me a comment.